is Casey Clark. I am the CEO of Cultivate Advisors. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do, and then we're going to get into this great content and help all of you business owners figure out how to take your marketing engine to the next level. So as we dive in, if you don't know who Cultivate is, I know we have a lot of clients on the line. We also have a lot of people maybe that are learning more about us in the sales process, but also just a lot of people that follow us and like to get our content. All three are perfectly fine with us. But in short, we help small business owners manage all of the hats when it comes to running a business. And so as you can see here from Drew here on the screen, it can be very, very difficult to juggle all the hats. Often owners are good at maybe 2 or 3 of the hats that it takes to be a successful owner, and they need help and skills in other areas, for instance, like marketing, and obviously that's what we're going to be talking about today. When we work with our clients in our world, we have built out, hundreds and hundreds of pages of curriculum. We have different things that we've built that help small businesses learn how to take these hats and move them to the next level that'll ultimately get growth within the business. That's really all we focus on a day-to-day basis when our advisors are working with our clients. And so the content I'm going to bring to you today, a lot of it stems from what our advisors work with our clients on every day, as well as some insights that I've had in our business here at Cultivate. So our advisors, when they work with a client, and I want to set some expectations here, we normally are spending a lot of time working on marketing. That is a really, really big area for us. Obviously, it's one of the biggest growth levers that we have when we work with our clients. So it's one of the first places we normally start once the fundamentals are in place. So I know today is a very important day for a lot of you as you're looking to grab some really good skills or different tactics or different things you can tweak to take your business to the next level in terms of marketing. But I want to just remind you that we normally are spending several hours every month with each of our owners working on these skills that go to the next level. And so don't be alarmed that you grab just a few clear bullets of change, but you may not know exactly how to implement them. That's obviously where we come in and help with some of our live advising time. And it's more just an expectation setting so you get the most value out of this as possible. But let me set a few other expectations. Again, this is going to be 45 minutes versus 2 days or versus months of working on it. So keep that in mind. The principles I'm going to teach, they're not rocket science. Most of you have probably heard some of these principles before, or you've heard them in a different angle or different paradigm. As we approach these topics, just keep in mind that it's about maybe there's tweaks that are needed, not necessarily the whole concept. And I am going to do my best to oversimplify. We've got a lot of people on here today, and they keep trickling in. So I know this is a very sought after topic. I have simplified to help everything resonate with as many people as possible. So we're going to talk about how to ask some questions here in a moment. Do not be afraid to ask a ton of questions as we get into this. As a very engaging group, we want to provide as much value as possible. So please use that feature when we speak on it, but know that I'm simplifying for that reason. Here's my goal for all of you. I'm looking for you to find 2 clear things. So often people write pages and pages of notes. That's fine if that's how you learn best. But really at the end of this, I'm going to come back and ask for all of you to submit in the chat room, what are 2 big learning points that you had that you never want to forget from today? So use that as your goal and your outcome as we get started. There's a principle we talk a lot about called graduated learning. And it's this theory that everybody's at a different step in their journey of learning marketing. Some people are at the very beginning. Some people are really advanced. Some people are right dead smack in the middle. Today is about moving you up 1 or 2 steps. Our goal is not to take you from the beginning of the staircase to the end of the staircase. And again, just keep that in mind as we talk through those tweaks. By confronting just those 2 or 3 tweaks, you have a better chance of implementing, therefore seeing the success. And if you continue to make tweaks on marketing, do something different every month, a year from now, your marketing mix will probably look very, very different. And again, just to remind last time, it does take time. So feel free to reach out to one of our advisors if you want more information on how we help on marketing. Otherwise, the rest of this content is all for you. So here, let me make sure you understand how to use this webinar. We do use the chat function a lot. So I need everybody to go ahead and find the chat room. And you're going to notice down in the To section, you'll see it's currently set to all panelists. go ahead and click that drop down and select all panelists and attendees. This is how we're going to have an interactive chat, so that when you chat, you can ask questions. And hey, if you're participating and you know an answer or you have an idea, please go ahead and throw that in the chat room. We want to make sure that we're using that appropriately, where everyone can talk and use that as a sounding board. I will not be paying too much attention to it because I have a hard time focusing on both. I'm going to stick to the content. However, some of the co-hosts will cut me off if there's a really interesting conversation happening in the chat room. So I see everybody saying hello, so I can tell you you've gotten yourself there. That's fantastic. Now, we do have this other section called Q&A. Look in the webinar room here and see if you can find the Q&A button. This is really cool. We have somebody standing by capturing all these questions. So if you have a really important question for you, you can click that Q&A button, ask your question, and after the webinar, myself or one of our advisors will reach out with the answers via email. So that's kind of just a nice feature we have. If there's something you really want more information on, or you didn't quite capture the principle, the learning that we're going to provide today, please don't hesitate to ask as many questions as possible. We will respond to all of them. Our goal is to help all of you grow your businesses through marketing today. We will have a few polls. I encourage you to participate. And last but not least, because everybody asks, at the end of the webinar, we will have an option to get the deck. So do not be alarmed. We will make sure you have that opportunity. All right, so we are talking about marketing. And this is one of our advisors. His name's Brian Bauer. He's a fantastic advisor out of Chicago. And I love that we got him and convinced him to pose for what we believe was guerrilla marketing. So nonetheless here, let's dive into marketing. So here's my roadmap today. I'm going to talk about persona. I want to talk about how do you really know who your ideal customer is. I then want to take you on how do you build out a funnel and a process in marketing. A lot of people are going to confuse this with how sales works. It's very, very different. Then I'm going to break down what are the most important metrics you actually need. There's a lot of noise out there, and I'm going to show you the ones that actually will dictate success as a small business owner and what it will take to achieve your goal. Fourth, I'm going to go into tactics. I'm going to hit on, well, how do you actually then find those customers to actually hit those metrics, put them through the funnel. And last but not least, I'm then going to talk about how do you track this? How do you plan it? How do you optimize it? How do you make this a breathing and living thing that will really lend itself to success? So these are the 5 steps we're going to go through, and I'll kind of keep you in the loop of where we're at as we go through on time. So if everybody could jump in the chat room here, you now know what we're going to cover. I'm going to go back to the roadmap here in a minute. What would you like to learn today? What were you hoping to capture? I'll do my best to talk on some of the points that I see most people hit on. So let me just hit back to the roadmap. What's most interesting to you? What would you like to learn today? Awesome. Chanel, thank you. Metrics. Okay, persona from Timothy. Funnels, tactics, tracking. Professional service for law marketing plan. Okay, awesome. CRM optimization. I won't necessarily get into that, but I can absolutely give you some resources for that. Somebody said marketing. We're going to talk about that. That's awesome. Cool. I think I'm getting a good couple direct lead generations. How do you actually define a persona? Awesome. So good. We're on the right topics here. This is obviously interesting. I saw kind of similar, all of them. It looks like tactics and metrics were the 2 biggest ones I saw with a dabble of tracking and persona. And I'm assuming funnel, people don't fully understand how that'll connect to metrics, but I'll clear that up here in a moment. Great. That tells me where to focus my time at to get the most value for everybody. So thank you. So we're going to go ahead and launch our first poll. I want to know, how many more leads do you want per month? I'm trying to get an idea of how aggressive is everyone trying to grow by. So go ahead and just select which option works best for you. How many more leads do you need to generate per month? This will kind of tell me how much growth people are looking for. Okay, so we've definitely got some aggressive folks on the call. A lot of people are clicking 20 plus. Oh, it's starting to even out. Okay, so some 6 through 10s, 11 through 20s. We'll give everybody just another few seconds. All right, we're gonna go ahead and turn that poll off. So it looks like the winner here is hoping to generate 20, second is 6 to 10. Okay, so we're going to talk about some tactics that can be a lot more aggressive, other tactics that will generate a few leads. I know a lot of this sometimes has to do with budget. We'll also talk a little bit about a budget as we get in today. But this is good. This gives me a nice good program here. So let's dive in here to what is a marketing strategy. And the first thing I want to share with you is hope is not a marketing strategy. So if you're hoping to generate 6 to 10 more leads or hoping to generate 20 or more, hope is the worst word in marketing. It is absolutely controlled. It is absolutely something that you can have a clear strategy and a clear plan to implement. And it takes time, it takes resources, and it takes focus. It is not something that will do it on their own. What we often find is that small business owners are very passionate about their industry. They're very passionate about delivering their service or their product. And sometimes when it comes to marketing, they keep putting it off because it's not their favorite thing to do. I'm sure people can resonate with this that's on the line. I know I felt that way often when I've had my own businesses. And it's something that you have to force yourself to go and implement and follow through a plan if it's on your own, or work with your team and hold them accountable to clear-cut metrics, not just a hope that something will happen. And so as we get into it, we're going to talk about these personas because we can't go further until you know who do you actually need to market to get next steps. So there's 5 kind of clear persona elements that I like to focus on. And this is the way that I filter out a persona. And there's a ton of reading on this online. There's a ton of different opinions. But this is my personal belief. If I was to sit down and work with a small business owner and teach them how to identify who are they going to go after, these are the 5 filters I would use. The first one is the problem, right? What is the problem that that person is trying to solve? And I believe this is the most important that you have to look at. It's not about identifying the persona and go, we have a great solution for this person. I didn't say solution. I said problem. What is the problem that your person is wanting to solve, what they need to figure out? Then you bring your solution to that problem. As a small business owner, it's very, very expensive to market awareness. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. You have to go in at a certain level of interest or desire, meaning you already need the problem to exist if you're a small business owner. You don't have the funds like the larger corporations do to go after awareness marketing. So I can't stress that enough. Make sure you've clearly listed out what is the problem or problems that somebody wants to solve. And the biggest tip I can always give on this is that you don't want to have a ton of problems. 1, 2, maybe 3 are the only problems that you're looking to solve. No more than that, because then you'll lose your focus. The second is, what is the pain points? So obviously you have this root problem, but what are the symptoms? What is it? What's the cause and effect that happens because of that problem? And these are the pains that they experience constantly. So I'll give you an example of how to connect these two in our business. For us, obviously the problem is small business owners struggle to figure out how to grow and control their growth and scale. That's something that they struggle with. That's the big root problem. Some of the symptoms is that they burn out. They're exhausted. Owners can sometimes feel lonely, right? These are all the pain points we're going to need to speak to get them interested, so then we can show them that we have a solution to the problem, just to help bring a bit more of a tangible example to the table. Now, the third one is demographics. This is the one that most people understand and they go to. They forget about the other ones. They always go to number 3 right away. And they think, okay, is it female? Is it male? What's the age group? Now, let me be clear. There's a large spectrum of how you can look at demographics. Most people struggle to get niched. They don't realize they need to say, well, my demographic is between ages 32 and 47. It doesn't mean that you don't work with people outside of 47 years old or below the lower number as well. It doesn't mean that. It's just you don't spend your marketing dollars or your efforts pursuing people outside of that age. You let them organically come to you. And that's really important, that you narrow in this demographic window when you work to build out this persona. Our fourth one here is our psychograph. Now, this is behavior, right? This is How do they make decisions? What are the different actions or what are the different behaviors they're going to exude? This is really, really important when you approach a marketing campaign, because now with Facebook or some of these awesome platforms, the amount of behavior you can track is not only cool, but it's also scary. And I know we've all seen a lot of that stuff in the news, but you need to understand what makes them tick. So we often will go find people who are checking out very specific speakers because we know that there's a really high percentage chance that they are a small business owner, and that their behaviors, since they're following that speaker, they're most likely going to be interested in us. I call that piggybacking, right? You piggyback off a different company or a different brand and somebody's engaging with them, you know that there's most likely interest in you. That's just one very simple, tangible example. There is a ton of examples of how to really get into the psyche. But the fifth and final one I want to share with you are goals. This is the fifth filter I use to help build out a persona when we build out campaigns for our company. And goals is really important. For instance, if for us, just again to share straightforward, if we were to partner with a small business owner, we don't necessarily want to work with an owner that is only looking to grow by 5-10%. The type of work we do, it costs a bit more and you have to get a much bigger return on investment for that. So for us, we look for companies that have a goal of at least to grow by 15 to 20% or more year over year. And if they don't have that objective, we actually don't see them as qualified or part of our program. Now, that might sound weird that a company will turn away people, but that's actually just really knowing your persona and knowing who you're best for, which makes your marketing extremely tailored and will hit every time. You need to do the same thing. Identify who your ideal client or consumer is and figure out what are their goals as you build out the persona. So those are my 5 key filters. And obviously I can go way more in detail with each and every persona. This is the kind of work that our advisors do with our clients, where they actually will sit down for several hours and really figure out what is the persona of this person and how do we track that on all the different mediums and tactics. But I have a very important message for you on this. A lot of people can initially design a persona, but the question is can you stick to it? Can you actually commit to that persona and not be distracted by all the white noise and understand that this is all you need to go after? And once you've mastered this persona, then you can maybe figure out how to make another persona with a different set of pain points and a different set of problems and goals. You normally will have anywhere from 2 to 4 different personas operating that you're marketing towards at one time, because the messages have to be very unique and speak to them. If I'm speaking to lawyers, right? If I'm really interested in going after lawyers, I'm going to make sure I have ads and that my messaging and my emails and everything I do should talk about being a lawyer, right? Not general businesses. That allows us to focus in on one specific persona and continue to replicate as we move into our other industries. Again, just one more tangible example.
Hey, Casey.
Yes.
Question here from some of the chat. Is there much of a difference as you pertain to marketing to B2B versus B2C?
In terms of how you filter?
What you're discussing right now is mostly B2B, and I guess some of the chatter is asking, is there many differences in terms of B2C? Do you view it differently? Do you view it through a different lens?
Very cool question. I personally do not. Now, my first business was in B2C. I was in the consumer business, and then we moved into the B2B. So I have experienced both. I actually have more experience in the consumer space than I have in the B2B space at this point. But on the consumer side, I think it's the same filters. It's just completely different answers, right? So short answer is no. I think you can filter it the exact same way and utilize it. I think the behaviorism is even more important on the consumer side than it is on the B2B side, and it's a lot easier to track as well. So the psyche, I think, is really important. Demographics, you need to niche even further, mostly because your funnel is so much bigger when you go out to consumers often than when you go B2B. Otherwise, I can't really think, even just on a simple, if you were to, go to a consumer for a certain type of product, You need to make sure the goals align. Are they, if you're selling something for a house, do they have a goal to make their house look this way or appear this way, depending on what the product is? You have to just be that much more niche because there's such a larger target audience that you're going after. It's a great question. I think the short version of what I'm trying to speak to all of this in persona is when you try to speak to everyone, you end up connecting with no one, and you spend a lot of dollars and a lot of time. And I think it's because as small business owners, right, we have this passion that we want to tell the world about how great we are. We don't have this platform quite yet as we're a small business. And I think what we experience is fear. I think we have this fear that hits us that we're going to miss out on opportunities. So we better stay kind of general. And why don't you tell me what's important to you, and then I'll tell you if I can help you. And I think people get in that world on accident, and they don't realize it's actually very damaging, that they're too general, so no one can really relate and bolt on and attach their loyalty to you and your brand. And that's why you really have to niche in if that's something that you struggle with. So for purposes of time here, I am going to move on to funnel because there's a lot of really good topics that we're going to talk through as we keep going. At the end of the day, the funnel is about creating opportunities. And I'm going to show you what my example of a funnel is and how I view it. And hopefully this will resonate. So this is my funnel. This is how I believe marketing works. I believe that it starts with awareness. It moves to interest. You then are moving the ideal client or customer to desire. Then you have them take an action that puts them into the sales process. And now you need to retain them. So all of that, in my opinion, is marketing. None of that is sales. None of that is actually operations of producing the service or providing the product. At the end of the day, all of these are really, really important. I'm not going to talk about retention today, but I am going to talk about the top 4. And I want to show you what most people do. Most people market at action. And I'll give you an example. Sign up for a call today. Or fill out this web form, take this, intense action, and you have to talk to us and give us all of your personal information. That's where most people try to market. And I get it, right? Maybe we have low budgets because it's a small business. We're pushing this out there, and what happens, right, is you scare people away. You have gone at the smallest portion of the funnel, right? If you look at the size, you get the least amount of people in. So often people put up Google ads or they do different things, and then they wonder why they only get a select few people to fill out their web forms. And it's not that you didn't have maybe a larger funnel looking, it's just they didn't take the action you wanted them to take. So a lot of people if this is your problem, my tip to you is pull back a bit and figure out how to get more in this desire and interest. So this is where I would encourage you to market if you're a small business owner. This may surprise you. I'm sure a lot of you thought I was going to say go in at the top. If you're a really big brand, you can go in at the top. If you have really, really big budgets for marketing, absolutely, you can do more awareness-based marketing where people learn about your brand, they learn about what you're up to. That's really what the big businesses are able to do when they get past a certain point. If you really want to get the most bang for your buck and you really want to have a decently wide funnel, but still focus so that you can manage ROI and manage time and resources invested, you want to go right in around the interest and desire. Again, meaning they already have the problem and you have something to offer them that gets them interested in you. And I'll give you some tangible examples here in just a moment. So as we think through this, essentially this is just a process, right? This is just moving them forward in a stage. Think of it like sales. A lot of times you get a lead and it's immediately, I want to sell that lead into a deal. Well, that's not actually what you need to do. You actually have to nurture that lead and you have to move them through the different steps. This is what their mindset is doing. I'm aware of you. Oh, I'm kind of interested in this brand. I have a desire to learn more. I'm going to take an action. That's how they move. And you have to do things to nurture them through that marketing process. Otherwise, you're leaving so many leads and so many opportunities on the table. It's a massive loss to all the work that you've put in and the leverage that you should expect from your marketing aspects. So it's important that you have a detailed process. Now, unfortunately, this is where it has to be very tailored. So I can't give you a lot of direction on how to do that in a group. That is something that our advisors can help you build out, though, is building out a very formal marketing process that will help them move from awareness all the way to action. So here's some examples, because I know tangible is what really helps. You know, a lot of general social media posts or PR placements, overall just getting them to the website, that's awareness. That's often how that looks. Now, interest is where you maybe give some value. For us, you know, if you go to our website, you'll find that we have toolkits you can download. We're trying to give tremendous value. Or look, we're doing a webinar. It's low barrier of entry. Come check out what we're all about. We just want to give to you. You need to find what that is for you and your business. If you're a home service, is there something you can provide for free? If you're a professional service working with your B2B clients, can you do something that solves a problem for them for free, that gets them just interested to hook onto you? And it's a bit of your loss leader that gets them in the door to get them interested. So that way you're not marketing or advertising, hey, check us out. It's, I can solve this specific problem for you at no cost to you. Do you want to know how? Click. That's what gets them to say, I'm interested. But now we have to get them to engage, right? We have to move them from interest to desire to actually learn more. We have to get them to engage somehow. We have to have really good follow-up systems. We have to have something that nurtures them along. And last but not least, then it finally escalates the sales process. Now, a big question I often get when I work with my clients on this is, what happens though? Do I have to put them through all these steps if they just want to escalate and have a sales call? Absolutely not. You're still going to be capturing that 10 to 20% that were already ready to go to escalation. It's really more about helping them in this interim give a name and start to track all of your leads, where they're at, and what do you have to do to move them to where their mindset is ready to go to action. And again, the reason why I bring this funnel piece up is that too many people are losing too many sales because they're not truly nurturing their leads. So my big message to you today is stop trying to close your leads. You want to sell to the next step and get them interested to have a call or take action. And you're going to have to go through the psyche I just walked you through in order to make that happen. Again, the opposite is start nurturing the leads. Understand it's a much larger funnel that will generate the sales. So before I move on to metrics, was there any questions that came up, co-hosts, from the chat or from Q&A?
I think you're good to proceed, Casey.
Fantastic. So now let's get into metrics. I know there was a lot of people that had a lot of questions around this. I want to do a poll though, so I understand. I want to understand how much are people currently spending on marketing. So if we can go ahead and launch that poll and just select how much are you spending on a monthly basis on marketing currently. What does this look like per month? Again, this is just to help me kind of know who's in the room, and we'll change a bit of what I speak to here. So a lot of people have a pretty small budget in terms of marketing. There's a few that aren't spending anything, either because they can't or not yet. And then there's a few people that are at the bigger portions here. I'm going to go ahead and in that poll here. That gives me a really great idea. Thank you. So one of the things that you're going to realize is that when you plan metrics, and I'll come back to the money here in just a moment. When we plan metrics, it's about planning activity, not sales. And I'll try to give you as many examples as I can today as I walk through this. But what I find is that when you're working through activity, people don't know what to measure. They don't know how to view it. And I'm going to try to break that down the simplest way I've learned how to do it. So here's a good tangible example. These are some great metrics that I can track that are easy to see, that allow me to see what's going to go from A to Z in my marketing funnel. So I'm actually going to start at the bottom of this page. I'm going to start with prospects. In my sales world, I know that I land, 25% of all of my prospects, which means, right, that I'm going to get 5 new deals this month if I generate 20 new prospects, people that are willing to go into my sales process, no matter if it's a product or service. Now I'm going to work this backwards. So let's say that I only are able to escalate 20% of the leads. Now, this is probably different for a lot of people on the call today. They probably look at leads and prospects as the same. It's a common misconception I see a lot of owners or first-time marketers approach. Leads and prospects are very different. Prospects are someone who is saying, I want this, I want to go through the sales process. Leads are people that have put their hand up. They've just raised their hand in some capacity. Again, bigger funnel to get the 20 prospects versus just forcing 20 prospects to sign up online. So we now know based on the 20% conversion that we need 100 leads. And we know from our website that we can convert about 2% based on what we found from Google Analytics. So that means I need to have 5,000 people that match my persona that goes on my website, because that traffic should turn into 100 leads. And then if I do my nurturing process properly, it should turn into prospects. These, I believe, are the 5 simplest things that almost all companies can operate if they have an online presence. Now, if they don't, you can just work this back differently, right? Set up your step if you run events versus having an online presence. How many people do you have to get to an event, and then work that backwards? This is more just a simple example I think most would be able to relate to. So let's connect this back to the funnel. You have this awareness. This is the control. If I move traffic bigger, ideally, and I maintain the same conversion percentages, I will in short have more prospects. So this is what I'm going to focus on the most if I lead my marketing team, or what I'm going to hold myself accountable to, because I know that's what will most likely dictate or project the success. The conversion is the value. This is piquing their interest and getting them to sign up for something of value, or download something to get more information. I always believe in gated. I always believe in putting things on your website that people just have to throw a quick email in order to bring out some information that they're interested in. It shows you who's interested and allows you to start to track them. From there, you're now going to have to engage them. This is where a lot of times people build out automated email systems. There's a couple other different ways to format this and different approaches that we do with our clients. But the lesson for today is you have to then engage them to get those leads to escalate. And last but not least, this is then actually taking an action. And an action doesn't always have to mean them saying, I'm ready. Sometimes it can be, wow, they've come to a webinar and they've downloaded a toolkit. We're going to reach out to them and see if they're interested in going to a prospect level. Other times it can be, it can be a very direct sign up. Hey, you've reached out about these 2 things. Could we just get on a call and tell you a bit more? The more ways you have to engage people, having 3 or 4 options, the better. Don't funnel everybody through the same escalation. Come up with multiple ways people can escalate, where it's more of their choice and more of their ability to dictate. And it'll keep your sales team working on more qualified leads, while your marketing is nurturing the current leads, getting them ready to escalate. And this is really a paradigm shift that I think a lot of small business owners have to have when approaching marketing. So those are my 5 important metrics: traffic, conversion, leads, escalation, conversion, and then prospects. Absolutely, in different businesses, there are different metrics. An advisor can break that down, but there is one more metric that I think everybody has to track when it comes to marketing, and it's what the poll asked about, and that's really about the money. And I apologize here, I lost my order. Just to set another clear example, if you want to get, instead of 20 prospects, you want 40, this would be the same thing with traffic, right? It would be 10,000 traffic versus 5,000. Again, just to show you that traffic is really the control. The very top of the funnel is your control. But let me give you this bonus metric I was referring to, and that's ROI. How much money should you be spending? I've taught a lot on marketing, and every time I get in front of people, the question I always get is, how much should I be spending on resources of marketing? Well, some small business owners can't spend anything on marketing right now, and that's totally okay. We started our business that way. We had to hit the pavement, nothing but networking events, going out and building relationships, working through word of mouth, trying to spend $2 on a coffee. I've been there. I can relate, and I understand that. And if you're in that position, keep doing that. Your money is, unfortunately, right now, your time. However, do not stay in that world too long. What we find is that small business owners will try to just keep putting more and more time on their plate, and they wonder why they burn out and why they can't scale. They overcommit themselves. Instead, bring this forward and let's instead look at how can we spend a little bit of money, because maybe you can make more money by producing a service. So if I was a law firm and I can work with 3 or 4 more clients, I'm better off spending a little bit on marketing versus my time going towards marketing, because the value I make per hour is so much more on my service than actually my time. But if I'm a small business owner with a product, it might be a little different. The product's already paid for. I don't necessarily make any money by selling the product. I have to get them out. It's going to be a combination of time and money. But if you have the question of how much money do I need to be spending, here's how I would break it down. You can follow along with me. Write down what your average customer is. How much money does the average customer give you when they purchase a service, a subscription, when they purchase a product, whatever it is for your business? What's that average customer? And now write down what's your expected lifetime value of that client. So I'm just giving a quick example. We have a law service, and to get a contract redone, and it's $2,000 per average customer. So and a client's going to spend $2,000 getting a contract done. And I normally see that my clients, work with me about 3 to 4 times on a contract over the course of a year and a half to 2 years. So I'm going to dictate that the expected lifetime value is $6,000. The expected lifetime value is more important than the average customer number. The average customer is just a means to figure out how to get to the expected lifetime value. You have to spend marketing based on that lifetime value. So it can really range. I see people spend anywhere from 2% all the way up to 30%, depending on the product or service. That's something you have to work into your financials, and that's a whole other session. But rule of thumb, generally I see with professional services or consumer services, is they want to spend anywhere between 5 to 12% on marketing, if that helps. Again, there's so many different businesses on the line today. It would be a question that you'd want to ask specifically one of our advisors. And we're happy to help facilitate if that's something of interest to you. So I have this $600 that I'm going to spend. So let me break it down even further. I know that I get 1 customer out of every 5 prospects, right? If I have a 20% closing rate, I know that I get 1 customer out of every 5 prospects. So remember my metrics before? I'm going to go back and I'm going to take my traffic and I'm going to divide it by the number of prospects I need to figure out how much traffic do I need to get to these number of prospects. Then I'm going to figure out what's my cost of acquisition or cost per click or whatever you've heard of. There's a ton of acronyms out there now these days for this, all different versions. But I know I need to spend $600, which in my math comes out to 48 cents per new traffic. So I know I can pay up to 48 cents for someone to click and get to my website. Now, this may seem complicated if you're not following the math, but this is, again, something we can do one-on-one with you if you have interest. Otherwise, you can take this yourself and implement it, and now you have a very clear objective for cost of acquisition. So for purposes of time, I really want to save a lot of time here for tactics, so I'm going to move on because I know there's a lot of people interested in this. Let's do one last poll here in terms of the content. How much time do you spend driving the marketing in your business? So I now know how many leads you want. I know how much financials you're spending, but how much time are you spending? Because this is where tactics come into play.
Hey, Casey, and as they're answering this poll, we actually had a really interesting question come on in terms of automated marketing campaigns. And basically, this person indicates that they have been the target or victim, as they shared, of many automated marketing campaigns. And basically, their question is, how do you make it more personal? As we're all bombarded by a lot of different retailers and also, other companies' marketing campaigns, how can you stand out or be more personal?
I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I'm going to do my best to summarize this in a few seconds. The persona matters massively. Anybody that is just building an automated marketing campaign and just trying to funnel everybody to it for no reason, and just assuming more is better, is not the right approach. So they may not have the right problem identified, or they may not have clear goals, or they may have put them into the automated campaign too quick and they haven't seen interest. A lot of times where I get frustrated is I get put into an automated campaign at the level of awareness, and that wasn't my intention. I never showed you I had more interest in your company or what you had to offer. So that's my first rule. The second thing is, it's a harder said than done. But when you go to build out your automated, I'm assuming you're talking like an email drip or some type of program like that. When you go to build something like that, you have to have a clear voice, and you have to talk directly to your customer, knowing that it may not make sense other emails that go out to people that accidentally got into your funnel. And so I think, again, people they have this generalist, we have all these opportunities if you're this, if you're this, if you're this, instead of just going, you're this person, we believe you have this problem. If so, let us know, we can solve it by doing this. Otherwise, please feel free to exit this. We didn't mean to send this to you, or you accidentally got here. And I realize it's a very simplified answer for now. Whoever asked that question, I encourage you to make sure you get that into the Q&A if you haven't. And we can send some follow-up with a lot more resources on how to do that, that I think will be very helpful. But for purposes of time, I am going to keep going. So let's now talk about tactics. So again, a lot of people are doing online, a lot of people are doing offline. There's a lot of differences for those. What's important to know is that today I'm going to speak on some of the tactics online versus offline. The second thing, it's important that you have multiple tactics going to hit a goal. So if you know you need to get so many people in traffic, or if you know you need so many leads or so many prospects because you've done your metric planning, do not put all your eggs in a basket. 3 to 5 tactics minimum, also maximum. You can't also drive too many things because it'll dilute yourself. So it's about choosing the 2 or 3 and going all in, and not falling for the trap of, here's another way to market. Here's another way to market. Pick the 3 to 5 and own them so you have multiple chances to get to the end goal. So really, if you're going to go online and you're going to spend a little bit, even if it's $200, $300, it could be a very small budget per month. I want you just to master these. You don't need to worry about any other online platforms, most likely, unless you have a very industry-specific or specialty type of advertising platform. These are the ones you want to focus on. And the big message here is, in Google, they are going to find you. But on Facebook and LinkedIn, you have to disrupt them. Your ads cannot be the same on Google as they are on Facebook and LinkedIn. Just think about it from your personal experience. If you are on Google, they are searching in keywords. It's about you have identified the right keywords and you show up at the right times. As Facebook and LinkedIn, they are scrolling. Your job is to disrupt them. Your job is to get them to stop scrolling, take a look, read, and you're hoping to God they comment, engage, or click. And you want to do something that gets them to click and show they have interest. That's the first part of the funnel. Google AdWords, then putting in the keywords is the interest. Then you show up, and that's what then gets them to show a desire to go to your site. So just again, to connect the funnel back to the tactics and how you have to approach these differently. If you're going to go on Google AdWords, I'm just going to give you my top really quick tricks on these. You should only buy the best keywords with about 80% of whatever your budget is. Do not go buy the internet. Go find the 1, 2, or 3 keywords that you feel have exactly who your consumer is. Couple ways to do this. There's a bunch of great tools. I'll talk about one of them here in a moment. But you can also just search the keywords and see what comes up. And see if what comes up really speaks to who your person would be or who your persona would be. That's the simple version. There's a lot more complex ways to approach it. Now, take the other 20% of your budget and put that on retargeting. I think most people today know what retargeting is, but that's when the ads follow you. When you clicked on something, you looked at some shoes, and then the next day you're on a website and all of a sudden those shoes show up as a simple ad. That is retargeting. They're following they have cookies and they're following your IP address and helping you hit the brand. They need to see you 7 to 9 times before you might get the click and might get the engagement. So if you have Google AdWords without retargeting, you are wasting money massively. In fact, I wouldn't advertise anywhere, anybody to your website unless you have retargeting going so they can see you multiple times and you have a better shot of increasing that funnel. Now, some people go, well, I'm on Facebook. Again, the big key is you have to make them click. You put your persona in the search fields when you build out your campaign, and then you do whatever it takes to make them click. Again, you just want them to the website to see if they have a further desire. Let me give you an example. In your mind, you may have, I'll just use a law firm again as a simple example. You may have a Facebook ad that says something like, looking to find a small business lawyer. No one's gonna click on that unless you just got lucky and found a needle in a haystack. You need to put out something way more appealing. Find out the two things that every small business owner has to do to avoid a lawsuit. I might click on that. It puts fear, it puts momentum, something that makes me feel an emotion. That's what's going to get the click. And when you go after Facebook, here's a 4-step process. And again, this is, we can spend 20 hours with a client on this type of thing, but this is the very short version. You have to buy your data. And what I mean by that is, if you have an idea, don't go build out this big, huge Facebook campaign. Go spend $10, put up an image, put $10 behind 3 different images and 3 different text or content. And I don't care if it clicks over to Google. It doesn't matter where it goes. Just see how many more people engage. How many more impressions you get, how many more people click. You have to do some data testing and you have to spend a little bit of money to buy what you already know is most likely going to work. And then you run your campaign. You start with very low budgets. Put $25, $50 behind a campaign. And as it's working, slowly ratchet up. Anyone that tells you you need to spend a certain dollar amount, that's not true. It doesn't mean it's not accurate in that you have to get to a certain level to get the type of ROI you want. But you should be able to start to see traction pretty quick based on how the algorithms work. And the biggest thing is Facebook ads is not something you can place and forget about it. If you're really serious about growing and getting more leads and leveraging some of these ad campaigns with a small amount of resources, you're going to need to track this weekly. And there are ways to do that, and that is something we're more than willing to help you with. It's just a longer conversation than what I can provide right this minute. Now, if you're LinkedIn, maybe you're professional services, not as much consumers, LinkedIn is a great marketplace for you, a great platform. Very similar here. Set a very small branding budget, put out some ads so they see you. Now buy Sales Navigator, build a list, and there's 2 options. You can either offer people to connect that, match that list with a very compelling message, or you can ask for referrals for the connection. You can say, would you please go to your second connections and say, could you please introduce me to blank and blank? That would be really helpful. You'll find that several people will help you do it as long as you have a relationship, and you can really spread very quickly. That allows you to not really spend much money outside of, I think it's $90 to have a Sales Navigator account. And it gives you access to identify people. And there's a lot more add-ons you can do, but that's the very simple version. When you send the message though, this is the mistake that I get. I know you guys have all got these LinkedIn messages, and most of them are not very good. And the reason why they're not very good is they're trying to make a sale. They're not just going to the next step. They're sending me a message that says, I'm great at SEO. These are all the reasons why I'm great at SEO. Your SEO is bad. You need to hire me. I must get 5 of those a week. I'm sure everybody can relate to this. It's one of the biggest industries I see this in. No. Instead, send me an email that says, hey, have you ever thought about looking into your SEO? You make me respond. A simple line. I would probably write back, you're probably going to get 400 no's, but you'll probably get 30 yeses. Right? And people will then go, can I send you some more information about what to look into if you're going to truly approach SEO? Hey, did you get a chance to review that information? I would love to chat with you for 10 minutes on the phone just to tell you more about how we help if you're ever interested. You're slowly moving them through the marketing funnel. That's what gets them in the right buyer's mindset to actually be able to go into your sales process. That is actually the art of marketing. It's not having to go find 1 million people who will sign up for the sale. It's finding 1 million people that you nurture and maybe 100 of them sign up for the sale. That's how you get to the end goal. All right, for purpose of tracking here, and I am about 3 minutes behind, so I'm gonna have to keep breezing through this here. I'm gonna keep it really simple on tracking. It will not track itself. And if you're not tracking, please stop doing marketing, because you could be spending way too much time, resources, and money if you're not tracking and ensuring that there's a good ROI. You need to have those systems in place. That is very, very important. So these are the top 3 things that I always ask a small business owner to have when they track their marketing. First one, make sure you have some way to track your traffic and campaigns. Google AdWords onto a spreadsheet, campaigns from Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're advertising, pull that data into a spreadsheet. If you need help on that, again, that's something our advisors often help set up systems to do. But nonetheless, traffic and campaigns, you have to know what's happening on a weekly basis. The second one, lead distribution. I want 100 leads, great, from where? Okay, I wanna get 10 from LinkedIn, I wanna get 20 from networking events, I wanna get 15 from this source, I wanna get 5 from my BNI group. There's a ton of different tactics that are out there to help generate more leads. You have to break this down and have very clear, concise focus on what you need to do to hit that, and track the sources. Where are the leads coming from? What is working? Don't be the person that says, well, we generate about 5 to 6 leads a week, and I don't know where they come from, and I don't know why. And last but not least, I know a lot of you know this because a lot of you were putting in some details here of asking for more information on CRMs. We implement a lot of CRMs, and there's a common misconception of CRMs. I think people look at CRMs as a tool to manage their contact list. It's not true. It's actually meant to track way more. It's meant to track, what does this person do? If a CRM is set up properly, it should track every email, every engagement, every action they take. And so if you don't set up your CRM properly and link it to the right technology you already have running, it's a massive disservice, and you're losing out on tons of opportunity from that investment you made. There are CRMs like Pipedrive that start at $25 a month, up to Salesforce, where you have to pay, several thousands, could even get in the hundreds of thousands, depending on how big you are, for the customization of it. It's a very muddy world, and if you have questions on CRMs, feel free to reach out. We'll do our best to connect you to a few that we think are great for your type of industry and your size of business at this point. But my point is, you need these 3. These are the 3 reports at a minimum you need if you want to track. There are many more you can use, but if you're going to start with these 3. Here's an example of one of the toolkits we have, just to show you this is what a lead distribution tool looks like. It's very simple. Imagine that you just know how many deals you need. You know how many leads because you know what your conversion rate is from lead all the way to close. Just make sure that you know where all your tactics are coming from to get to the number of leads you need. And if you're not solving it with money, you're not pushing buttons financially, I saw some of you are putting a lot of time in based on that poll. You then want to come down here and fill out, okay, how much time per tactic does it take to get every lead? So then it can actually dictate and tell you, this will do this automatically on our tool. It'll tell you how many hours you need to plan each week to go implement those marketing tactics. Let me give you a hint. Schedule the marketing time first before you schedule everything else. And why? You're a small business owner. If you don't have marketing going strong, you don't have a business. I can't be any more clear than that. Schedule your marketing first, no matter how uncomfortable, how much you don't want to do it. And if you already have scaled the business and you're at that level and you have somebody in marketing, make sure you are in the details about how much time they are spending on what. Because every hour worked is the same as spending money, and you need to get an ROI from that marketing output. You can find this tool by going onto our website. Just heads up, it's called the Lead Distribution Tool, if that's something that's interesting to you. Here's my big tips for you. We talked about persona. You have to find it. We talked about how to build your funnel, right? We then talked about how to plan your metrics. From there, we broke down how to implement some online tactics. There's obviously hundreds of marketing tactics. That's where it gets really tailored. And last but not least, we gave you the very one-on-one version of what at a minimum do you need to start tracking when it comes to optimizing your current marketing. Ultimately, all of this is in pursuit of growing your business. And you have to do all 5 of these. You can't just do one of these. And this is what I think our advisors do a great job at, is helping you see how to do that. So I always give some additional resources. So I hope you stay on so you know what you can take advantage of that doesn't cost anything. One is, these are my favorite technologies that I like to use when it comes to building out marketing. Drip is an online email marketing program that allows you to automate nurture campaigns. Active campaigns is very similar, but a little bit more robust. You can build out a lot more functionality. So those are my 2 favorite in that world. SpyFu, really cool website. You can search what your competitors are bidding on with keywords. Love this. You can see online what people, if you put your own domain into SpyFu, everybody can try this by going to spyfu.com. It'll tell you the top 3 places that people come to your website from, and what people are searching on Google, and when you show up, and what ranking you have on Google. Just a really cool tool to get some visibility if you're not great or you don't have a full understanding of Google Ads. And my favorite is Zapier. The ability to, this is an automation tool. It walks you through it. It's very easy to use. Let's say you wanted to, every time somebody filled out a form on your website, it can automatically send an email. You can connect your Google email to a web form on your website. You just tell it what to do and it automatically creates the automation. Technology is so cool these days. We build a lot of zaps and a lot of automation when we work with our clients. It's something that helps remove the time and removes the human error as we can move people through our funnel. So resources, I talked to you about the lead distribution planning tool. Again, you can find that online. We will also be sending out that toolkit as the follow-up email, so you'll have access to that. And if you realize today that you're actually pretty good at marketing and that you have an issue of closing sales, well, we'll talk about our next webinar, but more importantly, we're also going to send you the link of Sales Metric and Conversion Tracker. These are probably my 2 favorite tools we have when it comes to figuring out how to grow a business, because it just takes this scary, large thing of I have to go market and do all this work, and it puts it into this really clear, focused metrics that I have to go hit each week to be successful. Now, if you're a client with us already, this is what you need to go ask your advisor to work with you on. Work through your persona, develop an overall marketing strategy, and build out the the metric plan. Then establish what your budgets are and what your required ROI analysis is. You'll put together a tracking system. You'll then develop the nurturing program. You'll use that to automate it. Then from there, the advisor will help you build out a very clear process around what marketing tactics hold you accountable, enhance your skill on how to implement, and keep working with you to ensure you get this marketing engine going. So if you're a client with us, I strongly encourage you to take down one of these bullets that are interesting to you and bring that back to your advisor and ask them to put that into your roadmap that you're working with them on currently. If you're not a client, this is my, I have to pitch a little bit, otherwise the advisors yell at me. We do have an option. We're going to go ahead and launch a poll. If you would like to talk to one of our advisors and get a chance to have a 2-hour meeting to build out a full 5-year strategy and plan for not only your marketing, but how you're going to grow this business, it is something we offer for free. So if that is something that you would like to take us up on, we're happy to help you. Yes, at the very end of that meeting, we'll tell you about how our services work. But at the end of the day, we're here to help support small business owners grow. That's what we live and die for. So let us know if that's something that's interesting for you. That is one last resource. All right, last but not least, what are our next steps? We've got some really cool events coming up. And we're going to go ahead and launch one final poll so you can know what you want to sign up for. What this does here, Cultivate Your Success. This is a 3 to 4 hour event on July 25th. Unless you're in Appleton, Wisconsin, it's going to be on August 2nd. If you would like to let us know if you would like to come to that, if you're a client, you can come for free. If you're not a client and you would like to come to our Cultivate Your Success event, just go ahead and select the second option and we'll have somebody get in touch with you. We offer one virtually in Chicago, in Denver, and in Vancouver, and in Wisconsin. Those are where our main office hubs are. This event is a 4-hour event where you get to meet a bunch of different owners. You get to get paired into cohorts and actually work on core skills, but it's meant to be a lead group. It's meant a way to network and really meet with like-minded people who are doing some big things. So love to have you there. The next one is our webinar. We are going to be running our next webinar on August 15th, so I'll be back in charge here. And we're going to be talking about how to close more deals. So mark your calendar. If you'd like to get signed up, that's the third option on the poll. So go ahead and select that. And then last but not least, we have our conference coming up. We have an annual conference. If you want to jump in with 150 other owners and you like this type of training, but you want more one-on-one conversations and you want to get more in the details, we have built a conference that doesn't have a bunch of keynotes. We have built a conference that's going to put you in a ton of small groups. We have all of our advisors come and we break out and do all these micro trainings. It is a blast. We cover lunch, we cover breakfast, we pay for socials. We've got some really fun stuff in the works for a couple days. It is in Chicago, so some of you may have some travels. I know we have people from all over the US and Canada today. But please know that this conference, the early bird, if you're a client, that pricing ends on Friday. The price will go up, so take advantage of that. If you're a client, you've probably already received some information on it. If you're not a client, we are offering a $250 coupon since you came to our webinar today. We will email you that coupon if you capture that, and you can select that bottom option on the poll, and we will then send you a $250 coupon that you can use when you're ready to check out for Catapult. So go ahead and select that if that's something that's interesting to you. But these are our next steps. So as I asked, thanks for everybody for sticking on. I'm looking for one final thing. If you have any final questions, please click the Q&A and ask. We'll do our best to reach back out with that information. Otherwise, please jump into the chat room and let us know, what did you learn? What do you never want to forget? This allows us to curate our content and know what's working and what's not and what people are more interested in so we can bring those topics later. So please go ahead and jump into the webinar and give us those feedbacks of what you learned. And then also please jump on the Q&A and provide for us any final questions you'd like us to reach out for. Thanks again for joining us. Here are the next steps in case you didn't get them in your calendar. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us.